We are
All right.
live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our masterclass. This is a fun topic today. We are super excited about it. But while we're getting people to get on, just want to remind everyone that with these masterclasses, we bring in different experts. Today is going to be fun because we actually have a panel. We'll introduce you to everyone that's going to be speaking with us today. But if you have input on this topic as well, we love to hear from you. So please comment, ask questions, share your advice. We want to hear your input as well. Do we want to give it a minute?
Yeah, I think we can wait a couple minutes so we can get some people on. So in the meantime, while people are hopping on, let's just make sure everything's working okay. But we want to do a little introduction. So we were really excited to have this class. For one, we have a ton of clients who are in business with their spouses. And so we thought it would be really important to kind of highlight a few of them and get some advice on how you make that work. What are some maybe obstacles that you face every day, and how do you kind of overcome those? Because I'm sure it's a huge challenge to do business with your spouse and then go home and be with your spouse and you're with each other all the time. So you have to have some kind of, balance there. And so we thought it would be a great topic to cover, especially on Valentine's Day.
Right, it's love month. But it's so true, because I think it takes an amazing amount of courage and personal strength to be able to start a business and run it successfully. So that in and of itself, for all of our entrepreneurs, small business owners, is amazing. But then when you add in the dimension of trying to successfully run it, if you are doing it with a spouse or even family members and things like that, it adds in a whole extra added dimension, as Nicole mentioned, to be able to stay happy on the job and at home, and to be able to balance all the things that go along with that. So we're really excited to dig into this. We joke all the time at Jill's office that we're in the business of saving marriages, just because we know how stressful it is to run a business, and we know how busy you are all the time. So if we can just take one thing off your plate and help it so you don't have your phone, but you can let it go sometimes and let someone else take care of it and know you're in good hands. We hope that we just help bring a little bit more family work balance into the lives of our clients, our business owners. So, but we're just excited to take it even a step further today and just to dig into some issues that might potentially come up if you do run a business with your spouse, and then get some advice from some of our people here who have been doing it, some for quite a while, of what works and maybe a little bit of what doesn't, so that you can be a little bit smarter and make your dream grow with your business, and also have a happy family life as well. So do you want to introduce some of the people we have here today?
Yes, so we're super happy to have some of our guests. I'm going to introduce some of them really quick. We have Melissa Somerville. Melissa, you are based out of Missouri, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. And Melissa and her husband Eric own Squeegee Squad out there, and he is sick at the moment. So
yeah, we miss Eric. I'm so sorry. But
yes.
If you get on at all, Eric, please comment. We want to hear from you too. Mm-hmm. And if she says anything wrong, you can correct her. So not that she would ever.
Post your debate in the comments.
Yes. She's right.
So Melissa and Eric have been together since 2003. And their story is really cute. They do have a window cleaning company though, and you guys, it looks like you started in 2010 and then joined Squeegee Squad in 2012. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. So I guess we could take a minute to tell us a little bit about your journey and your company and how you guys kind of started.
Yeah, I'm curious, whose idea was it to start this business, and were you guys on board at the same time, or did it take a little warming up of one person to get there?
It just kind of happened. I don't know if we really ever sat down and had a specific conversation about starting a window cleaning company. It was, we came from, Eric actually had a mobile DJ business when we first met. And so we had that for a few years. He had it for 10 years total. And then we ended up selling it after we were married, just because it wasn't the most family friendly business to have. He was working all week. He was gone all weekends. I mean, it was just, it was it was kind of crazy. It was hard. And so after we sold that, we both kind of bounced around a little bit trying to figure out where we were going to land. And then it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of happened, just kind of fell into place for him to start this. It was minimal startup cost for us, and we were just trying to get somewhere. I had just gotten a job at a university here in town, and so I was working that, and he started doing the window cleaning, and it just kind of took off from there. So we started it out of our home and our garage, and went from there to a warehouse, a storage facility, and then we went from there to where we are now, which is an actual, full office and warehouse with vehicles and everything.
Okay. And now you have 2 sons, right?
Correct.
And have they helped out with the business at all?
Oh yeah. They both have done quite a bit with it. Our oldest son is 21. He is now married, and he did a lot in the beginning. And then our other son is 16. He plays baseball. So of course he's a sophomore in high school, and he plays baseball, and his pretty much from March through July, he's pretty much baseball the whole time. But anytime he can, he has some extra days, he helps us out, and that's always awesome.
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming on. We're excited.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I also want to introduce Tammy and Jim Ames. Tammy and Jim have been with us for a while now, and they're actually local to us, so it's exciting because we get to see them whenever we want to. And they're actually really close. And so Tammy and Jim, you have, now that we know quite a few businesses, maybe more than what we thought initially, which is really fun. So you do have the flooring business. The carpet cleaning, is the carpet cleaning part of the flooring business?
It's under the same DBA, but it's separate. Yeah, because you guys do.
Yeah. And then also Jim has another business as well. And so it looks like you guys had got married in 1976, which is amazing. High school sweethearts, which is always fun to see. And then Jim, you're in corporate America for 30 years, in operations and management. Tammy, you did sales. So Tammy, were you kind of in sales just as long as Jim?
Since I was 16, I have been in sales.
Wow.
I just enjoy it. Yeah.
That's a good thing to
It
do.
tends to be what I like to do.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your company and kind of how you started. I mean, I guess when you decided to own your own business, how did that kind of come about?
You want to do it?
Mhm. Well, we started back in Idaho. We've been doing businesses, different kinds of businesses, since about 1980. So right after we were married, we had a steam cleaning business, a truck wash business, a portable truck wash business. That's where we started. And so we've done a lot of different businesses over the years. And when we moved down to Utah, we were looking for something to start down here, and we got involved with Nationwide Floor and Window Coverings, which is a franchise. And we started that about 2006. So we've had it. And when they closed the franchise, they had some problems with IRS or whatever it was. But anyway, they went out of business. We kept the name. And so we've kept it going even through the hard times. I continued working. Tammy continued to run the business. So in the last 5 years, we've kind of came together and we added on a couple things in the coating business. We added it on a year ago. So our sales over the last 3 years have continued to rise year over year. So that's always a positive thing. And we've got 2 guys that work for us now when the season gets going. So
Awesome.
That's really cool. Okay. So, and then the last couple we want to introduce are special because they are Brent and Autumn. They're our bosses. They're at Jill's office. So Brent and Autumn are the owners of Jill's office. And so as most people, well, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Jill's office has been around for 5 years now. So they've been owning this business together for 5 years, and they met back in junior high. They didn't start dating till college. Autumn thought that Brant was the class clown, and she was probably right. And Brant thought she was the cute drama nerd bookworm, and he is right. So, so that's really fun. I want to give Brent and Autumn the opportunity to kind of talk about how they came up with the idea of Jill's office, and just kind of how that came about, because I think that's one of the biggest questions people like to ask us is, who is Jill, and how did you come up with the business? So tell us.
So Jill's office was created basically, I come from a family full of entrepreneurs that own businesses in many different areas. But one time I was just, driving in the car with my brother, and his phone was ringing, and he didn't answer the phone. And I asked him, "Hey, why aren't you answering the phone?" He's like, "Oh, if they want my business, I'm really busy right now. They'll just leave me a message." And I was like, "Whoa," and so a light kind of popped off in my mind. I was going to school for sales at Weber State, and just understanding what's that world, and figuring there's got to be a better way on how we can help business owners capture more business. And so I was actually working at a call center at the time, helping with doing construction loans, and I just like, let's combine this call center, and let's create, not necessarily a call center, I hate the word call center, let's create a receptionist service to help business owners be successful by helping them capture their leads and scheduling appointments.
And then the idea of Jill kind of came out because honestly, we were trying to figure out, like, what do you call our business? Like, this person that would be this tangible, personal person that is in your office, but answers your phone call remotely. And so that the name Jill just always just stuck. It just kind of was like, we called it like Project Jill at the time. And we just weren't really sure what kind of name to use. And it just kind of just stuck, and it just stayed with us. And ironically, the name Jill is actually the most commonly used receptionist name in the office. So I feel like that probably worked out really well for that. And then ever since then, we just kind of been growing it and evolving it from there.
Awesome.
Very cool.
So we're going to launch into a couple questions that I think a lot of business owners would love to hear the answers to. So if you want to start.
Okay. So, so know that with all of you, it sounds like with most of you kind of got on the same page pretty quickly, which is actually impressive, because I know a lot of couples are not in that same boat, that it can, someone has this dream, the other one isn't really sure about it, and it can take some time to get each other on board. So that's definitely an issue that obviously comes up in marriages. But once you get to the point where you both are on board, and you decide you want to do this business together, with all of you guys, how did you decide who does what, which roles, what person's going to take? And this is probably a continual thing too, as new projects come up, is this you, is this me? Is it someone that kind of, I don't know, you just kind of say, oh, I'll take care of that? Or is it like assigning to each other? Well, you got that last thing, I'm going to do this. Or how have you guys figured out, who's going to do what? Does anybody want to take that first?
I don't mind saying it first. I would say each person has their strengths in the business, even though we work well together. Like Jim, logistics. Oh my gosh. Yeah. He's running crews. That's his thing. I like to go present with customers and show them product lines and do estimates. So we kind of blend those together, but wow, sometimes you get into some weird ones, and I'm really glad to have him here, because then I can say, Jim, how do we handle this? Because sometimes there's some twists and turns in there that you really feed on each other. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys?
I would say for us, I just started working with Eric. It's been a year and a half. So I worked at the university up until September of 2018. And so I was not in the day-to-day operations of the business. But since coming in, it's just been, really what are our strengths and what do we each like to do? Of course, some of the things that we each do, we don't like to do, but it's part of business. But we try to be there to, support each other and what each one's strengths are.
Right.
And I think the same thing for us too is definitely it falls into strengths and weaknesses. We tend to naturally gravitate towards the things that we're good at and that we like, and we like different things. And so that kind of works out really well. I kind of think of it as like a freeway analogy. We're both on the freeway headed in the same direction. We just kind of each travel in our own lanes. And as we need to cross and help each other with different things, it's so much easier when we're on the same page with like teamwork and things like that.
Mhm.
So
For example, I'm a big picture guy.
yeah,
I see the big picture. I have a problem with the small things.
but that's my favorite part.
That's what she does.
The
And
details.
so-
I'm all about the details. And I'd get so mad at him sometimes because I'm like, Brant, I need the girl version. I need the girl version with every detail from start to finish so I can know the big picture. And kind of doing that, we get both sides of it. So I always request the girl version when it comes to anything. But
You know, you bring up a good point there in communicating, have you learned along the way you have to figure out how to communicate about the business? Maybe they want different information that necessarily matters to you, or, what kind of experience have you guys had with that?
I know, for example, we were talking about this today, that Autumn she didn't always work at Jill's office when we started. She was actually running a LASIK center. And when she came over, the one thing I said that was the hardest thing for me was actually communicating those things with her, because I didn't know exactly what she wanted, and so, yeah, there's it's just so much, like details and this and that. It was a really big problem for a little while until we just worked it out.
we just had to work it out, and it helps because I'm also like direct and blunt, like, okay, I really want to know this, so just tell me, because it's just easier to like lay it out than like drop hints to your spouse, because sometimes that works, but it doesn't always work. So you just have to be like transparent and open and just say it how it is.
Yeah, that's for us, it's been a lot of, because there's a lot he didn't have to communicate with me beforehand. And so there's been a lot of, trying for me to communicate with him what it is that I need to know. And still a work in progress. But he's gotten so much better.
Yes, you have too.
Do you have anything?
And
to
he's
add?
not here to defend
Watching
himself.
comments
So,
there.
yeah.
So I think that's I think communication is a continual journey in all of our relationships, learning how to talk to each other. And so it just adds that extra dimension when you have to talk about the personal and the business. And have you guys, we'll come to that later, but, Tammy and Jim, you kind of touched on, I think a few of you did, on, playing to each other's strengths. So let's talk about weaknesses as well. So what do you do? You know your spouse better than anyone. You know that they're the most amazing person on the planet, but you also know they're 100% human. So, right? So how have you best found to kind of deal when you think, that one of their weaknesses is coming out in the business, or maybe they're not the best person to be doing that because there might be someone better equipped, or how have you kind of walked on, if anyone wants to share how you've dealt with situations like that?
Hired an accountant to take care of the books.
Yes. Hiring accountants, yes.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
sure,
We'll need it out.
outsource. That's actually a valid
Outsource.
point. To take
Yeah.
the
Bills.
away from each other.
And hire Jill's to
And
take
hire
care of the phone
Jill's.
calls.
Yeah, it's,
There you
Yeah.
go.
that's really huge. I think a lot of times we've seen other businesses where spouses are at each other's throats in front of the employees, in front of the customers. Oh, that is like the biggest no-no ever. You have something derogatory to say, go say it behind the scenes, because that's killer. That'll kill your business so fast. But I think I just think we just work stuff out, and you guys have been a huge help in those areas, because the phones ring constant. Between the 12 phone calls you get that everyone hangs up during the day, that's taken away from what you're trying to accomplish. And if you can let that roll over, That's huge.
I
That's
like
huge.
that delegating.
Absolutely.
I think for us, one of the things that we've been able to do is actually, maybe not physically, but put on the hat of like, if there's an HR issue that I'm like, I don't really think that should be handled that way. I come at it from an HR perspective and not necessarily like, hey, I'm your wife telling you like blah, 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 blah. Like, it's from this perspective. I'm this person right now. I'm not, so I think that's helped too.
I like that. Do you communicate that verbally, or is it just kind of?
I do.
I like
Yeah.
that.
I will say, like, I am talking to you right now. I'm not talking to you as your wife, but right now, I'm coming, from this perspective. And, and he'll do the same thing with, some of the things that he's coming from. So
You take
I
the
think
emotion
that's
out of it and just make it about the business, not about each other as a person. You need to get different wigs. Like you have, different names for HR. Hillary and HR is red. Or something, I don't know. Then
oh, that'd be funny.
Do you have anything to add, Brand Autumn, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I always have something to add. I have my opinions, but
You have to add about weaknesses.
We know
that
Brand's
way.
perfect.
No,
but-
what I was gonna say is, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and there are some things he's really good at that I'm not, and vice versa. There's things I'm really good at that he's not, and really like our strengths and weaknesses complement each other. And so I can tell when he's like struggling with something. It's natural to me to like, oh, I know what to do here, and vice versa with him. And also realizing too, like, we're both doing the best that we can with the skills and the capacities that we have, and just realizing that person, it might not be as strong at that particular thing, but they're doing the best that they know how. And again, going back to teamwork, I don't know what you think about that, but
No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's good because sometimes when you just go from things in the same perspective, that you lose vision of the other perspective and other sides, and and so it's good to have the opposite mindset, the opposite, and having a weakness, because if you don't have a weakness, then you can't become strong. So
Very true. And I think it helps you appreciate each other more too, because you can complement each other. So I like that a lot. And kind of going along with that, in every single marriage, there's always conflict. Max Lucado said conflict is inevitable, combat is optional. But if you don't think you have conflict, either you haven't been married long enough, or you're in denial. So we know it comes up in every marriage, and I think even more so when you have, with most couples, you have your home life, you have your business life, you're separated for a certain amount of time a day, and then I heard a lot of them, once they retire, it's like learning to be married to this person again, because you're around them all the time. So with when you're running the business together and you are together most of the day, what advice do you guys have to give to couples about how to resolve conflict when it does arise? What has worked for you, and what hasn't worked? We want to hear that too, if you want to share.
we play tag. Like if there's an issue that one of us has with the other and we feel like it's starting to get heated, we literally just tag the person and then say, tag, you're it, and run out the door, and then chase each other around the parking lot.
Like literally you play tag.
We literally play tag.
That's awesome. Who's faster?
It really depends on what shoes I'm wearing for.
So it's not the wig, it's the shoes. That's what tells what person you are.
Right? I'm like, wait, I'm not prepared for tag right now.
That's awesome. But I think there is something real to playing together still as a couple, that that's always one of the signs of a relationship that lasts, is the couple that plays together stays together. But so even when you're having conflict, if you can turn it into some sort of game or something where you kind of lighten the air, I think that's awesome.
Well, it really does make things easier to come back to and say, okay, all right, let's revisit this. And I'm sure people around our office think we're totally crazy when we're chasing each other, but hiding behind cars.
That's great. But I think also, when you do have conflict, there's so much pent up emotion that physically getting it out you know, they say like birds, they'll get a little spiss, like that's get a little spiss with each other, and then afterwards they always flap their wings and it like releases the negative energy, and so they can move on. But it sounds like, you know, kind of a similar thing. Basically, somehow it helps you,
Yeah.
some of that pent up emotion and just be able to practically deal with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Does anybody else have anything to share?
In terms of like preventing conflict,
Yeah.
definitely. I think like with us, one thing I've learned is I try to like prevent conflict. There's a lot of things you can do, like what is making that happen, at least for us. And a lot of times it's usually because a process isn't set up how it needs to be, or getting the right people in the right areas. And so a lot of it is just looking at the bigger picture, like where are you weak in different areas that is creating that conflict. Because we definitely don't have our opinions on things, but it's just like getting to a resolution where everyone, like, you know, can give and take a little bit. But
Sometimes I found that it's not, you can't always find the answer right then. And so when we have the conflicts, you know, sometimes like, you know, let's just step back,
like table it.
think about it, and come back to it and resolve it after we have some time to think about it and process it. Because if you're coming to the table and she's mad at me, which is 99% of the time.
I'm never mad.
Well, she's mad at me 99% of the time, then it's like, okay, well, let me figure out what I can do to solve this problem. And
well, usually a good night's rest or just a week, and you're like, oh, it's really not as big of a deal as you thought it was. That's usually what I find what happens. Things aren't as big as we always think they are at the moment.
They seem like this at first, and then with time it kind of gives you a better perspective.
Yep.
I think that's really good advice. I like that a lot. What about you, Tammy? Do you have anything to add?
As far as conflict, we do a lot of windshield time, so that's a good time for us to call and you know, talk and discuss. If he's headed to a job and I'm driving to a measure or something, then sometimes we can sit and call each other during the day, and those things are good too. So we can be working on whatever the situation is. He's really good with that. So yeah.
The other thing is respect. You know, I mean, you got to remember that even though you're in business together, that you're still a human being. And I've always tried, because I've learned this in corporate America, because I've worked for some really unique bosses. And so I've
That's why he's not there anymore.
I do my management skill. I've taken a lot of stuff that I didn't like from that. And so I don't do that and treat the people, including Tammy, with respect, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all going to make mistakes, and we got to understand that, and don't get pissed off at everybody, because you know what? All it's going to do is make you mad, and there's ways to work it out without getting mad at everybody. There really is. So you just got to find it, but keep the respect always at the forefront.
I think 100% that respect is huge to make it work. That's good feedback. So, you know, one thing, you know, in every couple that you always have to make sure to maintain the relationship is, you know, to give it the nurture and the time that it needs to make the relationship flourish. But I think when, you know, as we mentioned at the beginning, when you're a business owner, you have that many more demands on your time and on your emotional space as well, because there's so much energy going to your business, and it's not like you ever clock out. It's constantly on your mind. So what have you guys found of how to keep your relationship happy and to actually give time to your relationship and not make it always about work? How have you set boundaries, I guess, if you have?
That's a good question. Well,
I know that question took us a minute to.
you got to have your time for yourself too, you know, have a little bit of quiet time for yourself, and then spend quality time together. Yeah.
That is a true statement. But I feel like we do, like for us, like obviously we're a little different with our business, because our business is open 13 hours a day. And, you know, so for us, we try to work within the confines of when our business is on, we're on. So anywhere from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Like that's like business time.
Yeah, we're
And-
like tuned into what's happening.
Yeah. And then after that, we try to
Like block out
Block
if you
out.
can. I mean, emergencies things happen, but it's just, I guess, setting boundaries, like with yourself and with your marriage and your family, and then also like when you're on vacation. You know, can you take phone calls or should you? You know, what's considered urgent. Just really setting up those boundaries and depending on what phase you are in your business, and even in your marriage, and knowing what you can give and what you can take. from
That's
them.
where we struggle with
Yeah.
vacation. It's hard to clock out when you're on vacation.
Yeah, because you're just, you know, want to make sure everything's always perfect, but it usually always works out. It's just
I don't know, but if you have Jill's office answering your phones, you don't have to worry about it, and it's awesome.
Then you gotta be nodding on the
I know,
Right.
schedule.
answer those.
We'll send you your more chocolate. Saying that. Yeah, I know I'm going to call you out here for a second. You kind of mentioned this, Brent Autumn, but I know for a little time you tried to set that boundary of, you know, no work talk after 7. But I mean, was it hard to maintain that, or what was your experience while you were trying to do that? Or
I think it definitely helped. I think it just depends too, like maybe if you're more busy and you're just more stressed, you need a little bit of time to just kind of have that balance. And so it definitely did work. I mean, in the winter we're just a little bit slower, so I don't have to have as much of a boundary there, because it just naturally works itself out. But I usually find most of the time, like we just, after it took a while at first because you're starting a new routine, a new process with that, and then over time it just became more natural.
how do you all find time for parenting amidst all that too? I mean, along we're talking about the marriage, but how do you make time, you know, for your kids and find that balance with them as well as your spouse, with your business? I know, because I see your sons have helped a little bit. Tammy, I know you have at least one son and Jim that have helped, right, with your business?
He's no longer involved with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but for a little bit.
For a little while he was, yeah. Mhm.
Do you
Yeah,
guys
so
have any
we just have fur babies and grandkids now. So
Fur babies, yeah.
fur
Gotta
babies,
have time for those guys.
yes, gotta have that. Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's probably a
there-
struggle to balance with like
There were
your
definitely lots of challenges. I mean, our son that plays baseball, I mean, thankfully he can drive now, so I'm so excited that he's on his own with all baseball stuff this year. But I mean, when they're playing 85 games a season and you have to get them through everything, and you want to be there but you're pulled. I mean, there's a lot of it's definitely challenging, and there were times that we missed games and we weren't able to go and had to make other arrangements, but you just got to do the best you can.
I like that, not feel guilty all the time, because you are doing your best and they're gonna be okay. 85 games, I didn't realize there were that many. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's insane.
Mhm.
I wanted to share, so we actually were gonna have one other couple on here. They're actually another Squeegee Squad owner, Melissa and Shane Brinkley, but they had some family things come up that they weren't able to make it today. But she shared a few thoughts that kind of go along with this. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share them here. And one question, so they actually recently are going through a family health crisis with a member of their extended family. And she's like, one question that, can be asked is, how do you handle catastrophes like deaths or accidents? And so what she said is, first of all, this is a time when your employees shine. The good ones really step up and take charge in ways you would never think. We have a technician in the office right now mapping out our spring training program and ordering new equipment. We have another employee leading our high-rise crew, making sure everyone is working safely. The key as owners is, if you have employees, to let them help you. And as much as we think we're the only ones that can do certain things, if you've poured into your employees, they'll rise and ease your burden. So I really liked that. I thought that was really good advice, that you don't have to do it all, to hire people that can help and then let them help.
Yeah.
And then the second thing she shared is to take time off to be with your loved ones. You don't get that time back, and you will regret it if you choose your business over your family. You may rationalize those feelings of guilt away, but they will come back to haunt you. So be smart and take time to be with your family.
Yes.
That was
So-
Very good.
there.
So true.
Because kids grow up at an alarmingly fast rate.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so, okay, I have one more question that I want to go over really quick. Does anyone have anything to share in regards to, is there any one thing you wish you knew before getting into business with your spouse that you'd like to share with the rest of the
Or if
world?
you have more than one, we'll hear as much as you have. If there's any young listeners or people that are just thinking of starting a business, what would you tell them with their spouse?
Get a hot tub
Yeah. And good running shoes.
and good running shoes. Yes, a hot tub and good running shoes. You're good to go.
That's good. That's all.
You can talk business in the hot tub, right?
Well, I mean, it's
Write
really
it off as
hard
a-
to get quote unquote heated in the hot tub, because you're all relaxed. So it's
Right.
we've actually had some really good meetings in the hot tub, just really talking about
Yeah,
things that
thinking
need to
about it.
happen.
Like, you get a think tank and then you write it off as a business expense, right?
Exactly.
And then your electricity bill gets written off all that.
Right.
That's good.
I think for us, I think the question was, what do you wish you knew about your spouse before you started the business?
What's one
Is
thing
that-
you wish you knew just
Wish you
before
knew.
going into business with your spouse?
I think is don't be afraid to disagree.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you go into this and your eyes are all shiny and you're just like, oh, this is going to be great. Nothing wrong is going to happen. It's going to be fantastic. This is great, and then day number 2 of the business, you're like, oh crap,
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, if you disagree, to not be heated about it and to just be understanding of their point of view. And, because it's just like really trying to, I guess when it comes down to it, I guess the thing is being able to work with someone, and understand their feelings and thoughts about it and work together and counsel one another to be successful. Because even though I have thoughts and feelings about it, Autumn tells me, no, that's not how it's going to go. And I can't be mad about
Well,
it because
no,
she's right,
It doesn't go like quite like that. Well, it's more, he's obviously the optimist thinker, right? But then I'll be more of the realist, like, okay, well, we could try that, but the reality is like you have to do X, Y, and Z to get there. And so that's kind of just understanding that how that complements each other. And then I guess for me personally, it was like personalities, really understanding weaknesses and strengths and how they complement each other. And once you understand that, then you can really like do what you need to do. So
Yeah, well, I think the thing about conflict or different perspectives is I feel like that's actually one of the greatest assets to businesses is when you do have people looking at things from different angles, because that's when you can, I think, fully be able to provide the best service you can to your customers because you're getting different perspectives. And we always see things through our eyes, but being able to see there's different perspectives from different people, it helps you look at a bigger picture than you would just on your own. So I think, I actually think conflict is one of the best things that can happen in a relationship or in a business sense as well, when you can work through it and respect each other, as Jim was saying, and talk about it in a productive kind of way. It just expands and helps you grow better, I think, in your business and in your marriage. I love that. Do you have anything to share, Tammy and Jim?
I would say something that we didn't know. I mean, Jim is definitely the entrepreneur in the family. I have been able to look at things differently through his eyes and see other opportunities that I never would have looked at before because of his brain.
Yeah.
then just gives us a chance to grow in different ways within each other, I guess you would say. He has a wide, he's like Brant, he looks at things as the whole picture. And then he also knows how to get there. So I kind of fill in a little bit on that, but he's able to see a larger picture and have great ideas. Even with the garage coatings from Garage Kings, really feel that was a plus with him looking at something else to make us a little different with flooring. And those things helped us grow immensely. So yeah, I think that's huge. So,
Yeah.
He's a brain.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate all of you getting on here again today and sharing some thoughts with everyone. We'll definitely email this out to people as well, because I know there's a lot of people that need to hear what you guys have to share. So does anyone have any final thoughts? Comments?
Oh, it was fun.
It was fun.
Well, thank you all. And
Well, actually, I do have one thought. I do. I would encourage business owners to ask these questions to themselves with their spouse at a time, because like it was really interesting sitting down together and going through these together, like
Processing it.
processing it.
Yeah. Just thinking you're like,
there's a lot you've just been doing, but when you have to think, well, what have we been doing that works, and actually thinking
Yeah.
it through makes you realize,
Yeah.
oh, this is what we're doing this, or
I
Yeah.
think would be
It was a good relationship.
it was a good lunch date.
It was a good lunch date.
yeah. One of the things I think would be cool to process too are the different, I guess the different strengths that your spouse has that you maybe appreciate that you don't notice all the time. And I know Eric's not here, so it's not 100% fair because he needs to chime in also on some of the great qualities. Because I mean, you forget. I mean, you get
Yeah.
so used to the emotions every single day. And I mean, even my husband and I, we do little things on the side all the time, and we're completely different people. Like I'm a Brant and he's an Autumn, and he's very detail oriented. But it can cause a lot of conflict when you don't recognize the personality differences and the
Yeah.
strengths and qualities. But when you sit down and actually voice those strengths, because you know them, I know what my husband's good at, but I don't necessarily tell him all the time. But to
Yeah.
really sit down and process it like you guys are doing right now, I think does a lot too in a marriage, just to kind of bring out those good qualities and talk about them. Yeah, live
Yeah.
on Facebook.
and I
One of the things somebody brought to our attention once was that in our relationship, Eric is the kite and I'm the string. So he's like always, trying to like fly away with all of these grand ideas. And I'm like, wait a minute, maybe we need to like pull back just a little bit, and
analogy.
but I think that kind of helps just to understand, who we are in our relationship, and it helps us to know that we work together as a team and that we balance each other out. And so I think it's really learning and appreciating, like you said, your partner and their strengths and even their weaknesses, because in their weaknesses, maybe your strengths, and that's just something that you can help balance each other out.
I like that a lot. Awesome. Well, thank you again, all. We appreciate it. Tell Eric his assignment is to write the blog post about this. So I expect tomorrow morning. But tell him I hope he gets feeling better. And thank you, all of you. We really appreciate you being on with us today.
Yeah.
And we wish you the best of success in your family life and your business.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Michelle.
Thank
Nicole.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
you
guys. I
guys.
appreciate it.
All right.
See you guys.
Okay.
All right.